Well, you can brag, Brian. I mean, what's this trip about right now?
I take a group of seniors every couple years out to Washington, D.C., and we came out here. We flew out on Sunday or excuse me, on Saturday, and we leave on Wednesday. So got 13 students just exploring our nation's capital and having a great time. And when I heard that Lyndon and Arnold were going to be on the pod, it's a definite must. A definite must.
Now, Brian, you were saying something about wanting to go to the UFC that's in Washington, but that's not till June.
Yeah, so we take a trip in March every couple years, and I'm doing everything I can. I've reached out to my congressman. I've reached out to a couple of people who have been
Are you
interns.
in Washington with other students in June when that fight is happening? Oh, so
No,
you would just make a special trip for that.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime 250th anniversary, and let's go watch some UFC fights on the White House lawn.
Okay.
But that's a very, very tough ticket to get.
Okay. All right.
Did you guys? I mean, I forgive me if maybe if you have, but did you guys ever like thought about getting MMA or UFC or anything like that?
Like actually doing it?
Yeah, like getting in the cage.
Yeah, well, I would say at 61 years old, I doubt I'm going to start doing some mixed martial arts. But I will say, in the day, Dan Henderson originally fought out of the Temecula Valley Wrestling Room when he was in the Pride and everything. And I definitely went into a couple practices, but it was just, there was no way there was ever going to be the amount of time you needed to put into something like that and be a wrestling coach and do it. Yeah, it was not going to happen, you know. And Dan Henderson's a pretty special person. The way, his right hand, he pretty much could knock anybody out. So I learned pretty quickly that I think he submitted me relentlessly without even trying in one night. So yeah, it was not my thing. Well, who knows if but no, not at that level. What about you, Lyndon?
Yeah, I grew up I started in judo, so that's where I started as a kid and everything. But this face is too beautiful to be in that UFC fight. Um, but yeah, funny story about Dan Henderson. We grew up together, kind of wrestling together as kids at the Jets, and me, him, and his brother always used to be in the same bracket at the local tournaments and be round robin. And his dad was one of our coaches, and yeah, we used to wrestle. I used to beat Dan Henderson. A little funny story, but his dad, I would have to wrestle his brother first, and then I'd beat him, and then they would have to wrestle because in round robin you wrestle everybody, and then his dad would forfeit his brother to Dan, so he'd be fresh. So when I wrestled him, and then and I would end up beating him. So, but we were good friends, and we grew up. We even attended Cal State Fullerton together at one point after he was done training for the Olympics. So. But FC, UFC, no, I don't think it really got really hot until after, we kind of got up and we started moving, to our careers. But like Alfred said, when we were at Temecula, Dan came into our room and everything. So it's kind of where he used to train until he got his own gym, which is very popular out here now in Temecula. He's not only got that, but he's got the bar and everything there that goes along with it. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching I think it was like one of those UFC embedded things, and it might have been for one of his last fights. And it basically was just him hanging out around his house. And I think he went up and picked up one of his daughters, and he had tennis balls, and was just throwing tennis balls out the window, like to try to mess with her. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
He's worked our wrestling camp before. He's actually, quite a soft-spoken guy. I mean, for as much damage as he can do in the ring, when you hang out with him, he's pretty soft-spoken. And he's done clinics at our wrestling camp before and does a great job, but definitely not like a loud, obnoxious person by any means. Really kind of a quiet, conservative person.
Sometimes those are like the most dangerous people. Like look at Brian. Like Brian's super quiet, but little do a lot of people know he's got a mean gut wrench and he'll turn anybody.
I've
Yeah,
heard.
I'm definitely not quiet, and I wouldn't say anybody, but definitely anybody from Granite Hills for sure.
Yeah,
Have you guys seen his gut wrench? Have you seen him gut wrench anybody before?
Well, we've been in the room with Brian for a very long time. So I think I might have seen him gut one or two people.
Yeah, I'm pretty
He's
sure he claims he has a really, really good gut wrench. So, and I'm sure he does, it's just I wouldn't let him wrap those big old chubby arms around my chest.
Well, he keeps talking about it. He's like, I can turn anybody. And I think we joked about it a little bit. And we were at one point, I considered going down on the mat at camp and like letting him put a gut on me and see if I could stop it. But then I thought, like, okay, well, I know I don't necessarily want to go down right now and then get covered by Brian in front of all these campers. But I think maybe if we make it like an end of the camp kind of deal where I'll go down and we'll see if Brian can get a turn.
Oh, that's happening this year. There is no doubt now that it has been put on the table. That will be going down. It will be one of the features of a night clinic. And it's going to be the Brian versus Brian. Can he turn him or not? So yes, that'll be happening.
Yeah, we'll have to put some
Well,
odds on it, at the end of camp, and we'll have the kids pick a side, and have the cheering sections on both sides. We'll put some odds on it and see what we can get. Maybe Vegas will give us some odds on what will happen.
We gotta do like best
well,
of three though, Brian.
that's up to you, man. The whole thing was with Brady and Sean, and Brady is yet to do that. And yeah, I think by camp, for sure. We'll set it up. Anything for the kids, right? Anything for the kids.
I mean, that was like during camp last summer where you guys did that rock, paper, scissors little duel.
Man, you had to bring that
Decide if we
up,
were gonna
huh?
run in the morning.
Oh man, yeah, you had to bring that up, man. That was tough loss, man.
Yeah, that's one of those secrets at camp. You gotta be on the inside to know exactly what's going on with that. But definitely having we've had before where who was it? Zahid Valencia was going against, was it Dominic Kincaid?
It was, yeah, from
Yeah.
Clovis.
So we set it up like a WWE wrestling match, right? So all the kids are on one side and the other, and I believe it was Zahid versus Dominic Kincaid, and because Zahid Valencia has worked our camp more than once, and on this one, what's the move where they grab him by the head and you power bomb?
Like
Uh,
an RKO or
The stone,
something.
yeah,
yeah,
the
I
cold
think it was
stone.
RKO was going down with Zahid and him. It was funny as hell. We definitely do some different things at the Fullerton Wrestling Camp. I mean, it has evolved in many different ways, but the evening session definitely takes different angles in different years, that's for sure.
When you think about like all those like moments, can you think of like a couple others maybe that kind of come to mind that like really stick out? Where like, all right, this is like kind of going in the mental scrapbook a little bit.
Oh, definitely. So one year you've got okay from Chico. What was the guy's name?
Sean Garrett,
Nishan
Sean Garrett.
Garrett.
Yeah, he's
Nishan
very
Garrett.
theatrical.
He's very theatrical, right? So he brings us in and he's got us taking all these pictures with certain lighting and everything. Okay, that's cool. But then he goes out and he does like a Michael Jackson routine in front of all the kids, right? And it's good. But then Lyndon comes out and Lyndon breaks out his dance moves. And I've got it on video. I wish I could pull it up at a moment's notice to show everybody right now. But
Some insider trading information. What is going on here?
it was so funny. You want to talk about a camp going crazy? Every kid in camp was on their feet. Lyndon's got the beat going. All the kids are clapping and stamping. It was funnier than hell. That was, yeah, that's it right there. That was good. Lyndon can really dance. So don't let him fool you. So that was one of the funny moments I would have to say at camp, definitely.
Brian, I promise I didn't prep them. I know we actually had that on the last pod talking about Nishan and how his lighting was up. So I didn't prompt them at all for that comment. It definitely really stuck out, being able to work at camp and all of us taking the pictures as his bodyguards, and we're all sitting there crossed up, and he did a great job.
Yeah, very theatrical posed. I thought we were just getting one picture, and then it turned into about 100. And then I thought, like Albert said, the dance off at the end of camp. I don't really dance out in public, but in the end, it was yeah, you can't. It's like a wrestling match. You don't back down from it, right? So back in the day, you break dance and you do a few things, and he was a young guy, I was the old guy, so yeah, you had to go out there and show your moves.
Was this like a challenge then? Like Nashawn was like, I'm the best dancer in this room right now, by none, like bar none. Like if anybody's got a shot, or was this like, hey, we know he's gonna dance. I might have to step up and represent the camp right now.
I think
I don't.
more like the second. I think that, Nishan all of a sudden started doing things, and it was like, then Lyndon was like, oh no, baby, here we go. And I wish I could break out the video because I just seen it the other day too. It's been posted on the Fullerton Wrestling Camp. If you go to the Fullerton Wrestling Camp on, on the
Instagram.
on our Instagram, and you just look back through that, it is one of the things that is posted. So you can see Lyndon dancing there. It's on there. It's got a couple thousand views. So it's definitely something that people have seen. But I think Sean Garrett was, what, 10, 15 years ago that he won the NCAAs. So it's got to be, it's that old that it actually happened and then it was done. So yeah.
I think the kids and everybody called me out at that point. It was like, as long as it took is a couple people to know my secret, and then they kind of said, "Oh man, you got to do it." And then the kids started chanting. At that point, what are you going to do? You can't. You got to save face. You got to go out there and compete. So yeah, it was a fun time. It was great. But that's what it's about. Just kind of having fun. It's kind of what our camp represents. It's about hard work, but it's also about having fun and overcoming, little adversities or little things like that, or, not being afraid. Because, I'm usually a pretty shy guy, but at that moment, you're in front of everybody and taking care of business. It's what it's about.
And I think it really enriches the camp experience too. Like, I mean, obviously, we want the kids to enjoy wrestling and have a good wrestling experience, but this kind of expands on that in a lot where it's like, even just, you talking to a kid and having an impact on them, but you busting out your dance moves, it's just like, oh, remember we went to that camp and like Coach Campbell was like breakdancing, he followed up Nashawn Garrett, and it's like, wow, that was so much fun, you know? That's a core memory.
Yeah, putting your day and putting your wrestling moves into the dance. That's all it comes down to. So, being a wrestler and those moves translate into dancing. So
When you guys think of, go ahead, coach.
No, I just think we definitely try and create a camp that we would want to go to. Something that is not just wrestling, but it's fun in so many different aspects. I look at it as like a fantasy camp. The people that we bring in, I mean, if you look back at the names that we have had, they are the who's who of USA wrestling. From world champions to Olympic placers, Olympic champions, to NCAA champions. It is the who's who and the different personalities that we've had and the things that we do, like at the end of the night, doing the autograph session and then turning around and taking the picture where all the kids are lined up. I mean, all those counselors, those clinicians love that. And probably the one I remember the best is Nick Siriano when we did his. Oh my God. Yes, Lyndon's got the pose, right? So Lyndon was doing the pose, Ed Advizian was doing the pose. I think Brian was everybody was doing the Nick Siriano pose in his photo. And he was so eclectic. He was so different when he was doing it. It was funny. Oh my God.
it's
But
still used
I'll
to
tell you
these
now,
days.
every counselor is like, dude, can I have that picture? Can I have that picture? Can I? His got posted on Flow Wrestling. I think it went like to 50,000 views or something like that. So that was a pretty cool one.
Yeah. He started off the wrestling season. That's when he transferred, I think, to, was it Michigan? And
Yo,
oh man,
Brian.
big blue, huh? Got a couple California boys there. But in the end, yeah, that picture posted, and he would post it. That picture got posted a few times, and one of it was to start the wrestling season off. He's like, "Are you ready?" But yeah, he was very into flexing, and he had his shirt off. Obviously, we left our shirts on, rolled them up a little bit, and tried to show our muscles. But yeah, that was awesome. That was
Yeah, he was always flexing his abs and everything. That was something that he always wanted to do. He was a funny guy, and getting to meet him, or to get him to come to camp. His dad, I seen his dad at the NCAA's, and I was like, "Hey, I'd really like to get your kid to camp." And we started talking, and the next because I couldn't get a hold of him. It was like, how am I going to get a hold of Nick Siriano? I'm trying all these different ways, nothing's working. But as soon as I talked to his dad, it was like he fell in line. His dad was definitely the one in control of that family. So he was a
just
good.
managing them.
The two
It's not
people
hard.
that go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Brian.
Brian. No, go ahead.
The two people that stand out to me was Dake's very first year. We had him twice. And Dake just won it his freshman year and came out, and he was so interactive and hands-on. I mean, he was out playing war ball with us on the football fields and in the swimming pool. And his first year was the kids not only got to see a national champ teach technique, they got to hang out with him as a friend and as somebody else who just loves wrestling. He did an amazing job. And then I'll never forget Ed Ruth. Ed Ruth, if you're listening, I apologize for putting you on blast, but he didn't show up with his shoes. And he forgot his shoes on the flight, left them at home. And somebody said, "Hey, who's got a size 11 or whatever?" And I said, "Oh, I got an extra pair." So he wore my shoes. And at the end, he signed them. But the one that's super special to me, and I'll have Coach Campbell tell the story. But when we had Kellen Russell from Michigan, and as being a Michigan fan, it was super cool to see one of the guys that I followed for many years come out and teach it. But Campbell had a little surprise for me, and it was amazing. Coach, do you want to tell the story?
Well, Brian is a Michigan fan. He's always been a Michigan fan. And yeah, just he was one of our counselors. He was a great guy, great person, great personality, and I just knew that if I could get a Michigan shirt and have him sign it personally to give to Brian, that would go a long way. For sure. It's like anything, and certain things if you're too embarrassed to do it yourself or whatever. But me and Coach Alpert, we own the camp, so they're working for us, I guess is how I looked at it. And if I can make it work for a good friend of ours that does a lot for us, it does an amazing job at camp, and not only at camp but just outside in life and in general. I mean, that was an easy thing. That was easy thing to do. But to see giving it to Brian and seeing him so excited and so overjoyous and still hanging on his wall this day in his classroom, it goes a long way. So I would not only do that for him, but anybody that's in our wrestling family. If I have something that I can make it better for them or do something nice for them, that's how it should be. That's why I love wrestling.
Which led to the very following season when we go to Des Moines for the NCAAs, and we come out of the arena, and we're kind of in front of him, and all of a sudden I hear my name. I hear Brian, 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 and I turned around, and it was Kellen. And so Kellen's come down the stairs, and we were all there, the three of us, as well as Coach Alpert's son, Wyatt. And he's like, "Hey, guys, camp is great." So it was super cool and memorable for me. But the amount of great people that have been at Fullerton Wrestling Camp has been phenomenal over the years.
How cool is it that like we get to build these relationships with each other and with other people? I mean, I had always seen you guys around, and I've talked about how I'd met Brian before. I just saw him working and just started talking to him, and we just met at a tournament. But Coach Alpert and Coach Campbell, like just seeing you guys around and had this opportunity to come work the camp last summer, and it was so much fun. And now it's like cool seeing you guys at tournaments. It's like dude, whenever I see Mario, it's like, "Oh, what's up, man?" He comes and gives me like a big old hug, and it's like I feel like I'm part of the crew now, and it's awesome.
Well, you just
That is
for
awesome.
the crew, and that's the great thing. Forget the Fullerton Wrestling Camp. I do think it is a special thing. Don't get me wrong, but I think wrestling is a special thing. I think when people get together in wrestling and you just meet them, I don't care what level they are, they're usually willing to talk to you and say hi, and just like a Kellen Russell, "Hey, what's up, Brian? How you doing?" And when I see an Anthony Ashnall or a Zahid Valencia or a David Carr or an Anthony Robles. I mean, they truly remember you and want to get to know you and make you feel like you're a part of what's going on. And I think the wrestling family is an amazing family. I am so proud to be a wrestling coach, and owner of the Fullerton Wrestling Camp, owner with Lyndon. That is an amazing thing. But I think just wrestlers are amazing. I think that is something that, it is not common, I think, in every sport to be the way we are. I think wrestlers really respect each other because it is a very tough sport.
Yeah, the wrestling family is amazing, and that's what it is. Like we go out there, we all work hard, we all like to compete. We competed as people. Now we compete through coaching. But once you get to know somebody, it's like knowing you, Coach Batista, being at Fullerton Wrestling Camp and just seeing you very first day. You just jumped right in. You worked your butt off, and you were easy to like because you are a hard worker. And that's what most wrestlers are because they've been through the grind. They've done the hard work. Whether it's training or dieting or exercising or, doing stuff when you needed to because, that's what it meant. But yeah, just getting us outside of the wrestling room to see who we really are. I mean, know that I can bust a dance move or whatever. It's just that's part of knowing those people. And yeah, when I saw you up there this weekend, it's like you're one of those familiar faces that I totally want to say hello to and know and not just say hello, but respect. And that's where you gain a lot of it. So wrestling has a lot of respect, and because when you say you're a wrestler, you know what work it's put into. So that's what I love about it.
How tired was your voice just coming back? Would you drive back Sunday after
Yeah,
the
we came
state?
back Sunday. Yeah, Sunday we left probably about 6. We got home almost about midnight. So in the end, but that's it too. It's like, you buy in because you're trying to make wrestling better. You don't need to do the things that you do, but I do it because, or we do it because we want to make wrestling better. Whether it's writing a simple rule or going to a tournament to make it better. If whether it's my tournament or not, or our tournament, whatever it is, our camp, if you're going to be at an event, why wouldn't you want to be there to make it better? I think too many people sit back and just they might complain or they might want to do, but how about you jump in and make it better, whether it's ref in or volunteering your time or working weigh-ins or making the process faster, because isn't that what it's about? It's about the kids. I mean, we're there for the kids. We all love winning. We don't like losing too much, but in the end, we're there to develop young athletes and to make wrestling better, to keep it on the map for everybody.
And that's a
Well,
that's a
you
really
can see
awesome
that.
mentality to have. Go ahead, coach.
Well, I think you can see that, in the Fullerton Wrestling Camp, but
Yeah.
in Temecula Valley wrestling values. When you look across the IEWA, look at how many refs, are from Temecula Valley. If you look across the state of California, how many refs are from the Temecula area? We're not just about ourselves, and I don't think most wrestlers are, but I know we definitely are. We're about building the sport at every level, at the local level with running tournaments, at the state level by helping, being part of them, at the national level, whether it's running wrestling camps. And like you said, it doesn't matter where we go, we're doing something. If you go to the Tournament of Champions up in Reno, what's going to happen on the second day? There's going to be a workout that morning. Who's going to be running it? Lyndon Campbell, right? It's going to be ran by somebody from Temecula, and that's known. And if you're coming to battle for the belt and your kid's out on the second day, what's going to happen? There's going to be a second workout, and your kids are going to get another chance. Who's going to be running that? Lyndon Campbell, right? So it doesn't matter where we are. We're trying to help. We're running the weigh-ins at Reno at a CIF tournament. It doesn't matter where it is. Can we help? We'd like to help, and hopefully there are a lot of people like that in wrestling. There's plenty, but that's definitely the philosophy in Temecula. Jump in and help out. And yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
And the
It makes
coaches,
it just makes it so much fun to be around you guys. Even at your tournament when you guys run Battle for the Belt, like that's one of my favorite tournaments to go to. Now even more so just because we have that relationship. But even before, I mean, from the obviously you guys do that second day workout in the morning for all the guys that don't make it that second day. But the wrestling quality is great for us. The way that it's ran, you guys have a lot of mats in that gym. This is pretty underrated, but the coach's bathroom, like that's a big deal, where we don't have to just wait with the smelly kids. We can just go in and out and handle business. But just the fact that you guys are really professional and Ed Avesian, he actually brought that because the second day you guys have that youth tournament on the Sunday. We had a kid, I'm not sure exactly what happened with the belt situation. Maybe you guys didn't get the right belt or were out of belts or something. But Ed brought the belt down. And I was able to give that belt to the kid, and it's like you guys are just a special group of people. And where does that really come from? Is that just something that I know you guys have been together for a long time, but is it something to where you're kind of actively looking for people in the area to be like, hey, you're kind of believing in how the things that we believe in? Are you trying to like pull those guys over? Or is it more like a Mario DeCaro who does an awesome job? Like, hey, you're an alum, like we love you, like just bringing those guys back in.
yeah, I think it's a little bit of, obviously me and Albert have been together since 1985, and I was a little high school kid, and he was getting ready to go back to college and wrestle. So, just our friendship and then our work ethic and, and then obviously having kids that come back to our program that have grown up in our program, that makes it real easy. All those things that you talked about at our tournament is like when we want to go to a tournament, that's what we would like. That's we want to run a tournament how we will want it to be. The awards are nice because the kids are the most important, right? They get nice belts. The medals are amazing. The trophies, the winning coach gets a belt. He's the outstanding coach because they won the tournament. I mean, they're the best team. But the little things like coach's bathroom. Yeah, I mean, how many times have there's been like one bathroom for hundreds of people, and it's like, good Lord, everybody has to go to the restroom, but it just makes it little things. And when you go to a tournament like that, it's important. And having people around you, surrounding yourself with good workers, that's important too. But I think once everybody's kind of gets in there and they see the work ethic that everybody puts, whether it's the top person or the bottom person, they're all working hard. Nothing's beneath us, right? As a coach, nothing should be beneath you, up in a mat or doing anything. How do you get other people to do it? It's because you're doing it, right? It's not you telling people. It's because they see you. Your actions are louder than words, I guess you would say. But yeah, it's been great. And me and Coach Alpert have bred off that. And, we have amazing people like Brian and, other people's like Coach DeCarlos. They came through our program and, they're helping coach now and, little things like that. But that translates into the Fullerton Wrestling Camp, no different. It's like the same mold. But it's really when you go out to places what you want to see. And that belt that Ed brought up there, title boxing is who makes belts, right? And because it had title boxing on the other belt that he had, they thought it was a boxing belt. And no, it's a wrestling belt, and had our logo and everything on it. But yeah, the little things like that, we fixed it. So you walk away because our best customers are returning customers, and like yourself, Frontier has been one of those teams at the Battle for the Belt who's come since the beginning. And I can go through a list of teams who've done that. And once again, I put it out there because a lot of those people out there that are coaching and people that are at that tournament are a lot of our friends. And how would you not want to be at a tournament, hanging out with your friends, competing on the mat, and being at a great event? So that's all it comes back to. And Fullerton Wrestling Camp's no different. Our best customer is our returning customer. So people come back because they have a great experience. And it's not just because of me and Coach Alpert. It's everybody that we hire. It's all the people that we bring in. And if you're not doing a good job, we replace you because it's about having people come because they want to be there.
So going back to that question, is how are you getting these people, or why do people want to be around it? I think it's both. I think it's because they're coming through our program, but I think it's also because they see what's going on in our program. Somebody like yourself who ends up coming to the Fullerton Wrestling Camp, and then starts to really see a little closer picture of, oh my God, these guys are really into what they're doing. They go the extra mile. And whether it's the camp or whether it's the tournament, we want to run things in a way that we would want it done for ourselves. And then you want people around you that are giving the same energy that you're giving, right? And so you bring all these different people together and everybody feels the same way about it. I know Brian Navarro, when he goes to the Fullerton Wrestling Camp, he is going to treat it like he owns it. And he is going to be the most amazing worker I've ever had. And that has been true year in and year out. And so you keep bringing that guy around. And if that guy isn't that way, then you talk to him and you try to get him to be that way. But if they're not, they slowly kind of get pushed out the door and somebody else gets pulled in the door. Somebody that is doing the right things, like the Mario DeCaros or the Marco DeCaros or the Ed Abadizians, and so our sphere, grows. And then come on, over time, I've been in Temecula now for 33 years. Over time, many different people are going to be part of what you're doing. Sergio Cortez and his kid are going to be there for a while, right? And then his kid graduates and he goes away, but he keeps coming back for the wrestling part. But there's going to be new dads, there's going to be new coaches, there's going to be new people. But you're always looking for that same vibe. You want those people that want what you want. They are doing it for a selfless reason, not for the paycheck. If you're doing it for a paycheck, you're in the wrong sport. You're not going to get rich in wrestling. You're not. Well, I gotta change that. David Taylor and Cale Sanderson, I think, are changing that a little bit at the collegiate level of coaching. But for the most part, most people are not going to get rich at wrestling. Where you are going to get rich at wrestling is in your life, in the way that you carry yourself, the way that you live your life, the way that you do things. There, you're going to be you're going to be as rich as anybody could be in your friends, in your work ethic, in the things that you do. There is nowhere else that every day rent is due. You got to go out there and do it again, right? That's what I love about wrestling. And the bottom line, wrestling is you versus you. You're going to go out there and battle you for, hey, how hard do you really want to work? How much are you really willing to put into this? And at Temecula, we talk about we're not trying to win. We're trying to create great young men. And if you're doing that, what happens? You end up winning. Because if you're doing it the other way, you're cutting corners. If the only thing you care about is winning, then you are going to do things at times that you probably shouldn't be doing to accomplish that goal. But if your real goal is to create a great young man, then you're not worried about cutting that corner. You're trying to go the 9 yards. You're trying to go the distance and do the hard thing. And by doing the hard thing, you end up winning. So that has, I think, always been the secret sauce for us, has been create great young men. Kids that might walk in the room having never wrestled, and then they walk out and maybe they've got a scholarship off to college, or maybe they've just realized what being a real man is. And now they're able to go out there and be great young people and great workers, great taxpayers is kind of the way, that's the term we use a lot. We're trying to create young taxpayers, and they become great fathers. Some of the shirts we've had over the years, one of them featured, and it showed all the different workers that we've had as it goes around in a circle, from doctors and lawyers to, just plain fathers, which are probably the most important things that we can have.
Off the old block, as
I
we
think
called it.
I think it's also just the success, and success breeds, many people getting eyes on situations. Whether you're talking about Fullerton Wrestling Camp or you're talking about Temecula Valley, when that success happens, word of mouth knows. I think one of the coolest stories, and I don't remember, I'm sure Alpert can fill us in, but I remember a couple of years ago where Alpert was trying to reach out to a wrestler, and fill me in as the story goes, Arnold. But he made a phone call, and immediately he made a phone call. And when he talked to the wrestler to come out to camp, he says, "We're expecting your call," because they went out and they got those NCAA champs. And then the word of mouth spreads. Hey, this counselor, this team gets to go here. Whether it was Dinuba for those years, whether it was bringing Bosco for those years, and now Frontier. Brian, you came to camp because I said, dude, you got to come work this camp. And now it's a word of mouth going out. Alfontes sent me some data last week, and looking at the history of the schools, I'm going to pull it up here really quick, but in the history of California, Temecula Valley has the 11th most state place winners of all times. And that's the data that he just sent me. They're in the top 11. I'm trying to get the exact number. It is 51 state medalists, and they're in the top 11. Just above them along the way, you're looking at St. John Bosco, Selma, Clovis West, Vacaville, Calvary Chapel, Gilroy, Bakersfield, Buchanan, Poway, and Clovis. Having 51 state place winners, since its existence in '87 is such a phenomenal job. And most of that is because of these two men that we're looking at. I think that's a situation where word of mouth gets spread, that they're doing the right things. And it's the facts and the evidence that shows that, not only with Fullerton Wrestling Camp, with Temecula Valley, with my success. I am not being a teacher, and I'm not being a leader of young people without Campbell and Alpert teaching me the way, growing up, coming up through the program. So I think the success level has to be added on to not only the mentality of being a wrestler or making good men. It's a great way to run a program.
But making good men is more important than the winning by far. And look, we've won 38 league titles in a row. That's a state record. We've won 40 some CIF titles. That's a Southern Section record. We've got. I didn't even know what Brian just brought up. I didn't know that, but that's another great thing. These are numbers, but what's more important is how many great fathers are because of this program. And you can look right now at the people in our program, and you go, oh, look it. You got Caleb Garcia and Dylan Garcia. Oh, his dad, CC Garcia, wrestled for us, right? Daniel Cunningham, his kid wrestled for us. And you go back and all of a sudden you got what's his another one? He's one of the freshman kids. Um,
He's gonna be super angry when he watches this, and you didn't remember his name.
Oh
yeah,
man,
but the kid, God,
well, you got Brock Schleiger who's in the program.
You
His
got
kids, and
Schleiger. But then it's not him, it's another one. God, he was like he he's
Well,
he's
look at Fanene is currently right in the program where his dad wrestled
Yeah,
for.
there's another one. I mean, God, there's five that you can just name right now that are, just dads that are coming back that are contributing to the program. It's like, oh my God, how amazing is that?
Mark Perriman with Ethan Perriman.
Oh yeah. Mark came back and helped coach for a while, and Ethan and Nathan and so yeah.
basically what you're saying is we're old. Yeah, when your kids that you've coached come back and are fathers and have their kids come back in your program, that means you're getting old. It's called AGE.
Yeah, but they don't have to come back. I mean, that's also part of success. Like those dads wouldn't be coming back if they didn't believe. I mean, like they're excited to be back in that room. They come in there. Adam Kuchuk, that was the guy I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, you've got all these dads that are so excited to bring their kids back to the program and to now have them go through the same experiences that they went through. And that right there is like some of the most phenomenal success you can have. And then all of a sudden, I get a call from Patrick Paz just 2 nights ago. He's coaching in Ohio. And he's like, Coach, I'm having a couple problems here. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And, maybe I haven't talked to Patrick in 4 or 5 years, but all of a sudden he reaches back, and that happens, a couple times a year with a couple different kids, almost every year. It's wonderful to hear back from all those kids and to know that you're making a difference in their lives. And you might not hear about it so much, but when you do, it really makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's
What's
like
that's a
you see them.
strong Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I was just gonna say that's a strong indicator of a successful program when people come back and want to be a part of it and help. I mean, look at your counselors at the camp. I mean, it's all Temecula alumni, coming back and contributing and giving back just because you guys did that to them, and they want to pay it forward because they care about the program, even though they're technically not in it anymore. They're still a part of it.
It's good to see when you go to tournaments too, and you haven't seen the kids in a while. Like we're in Vegas, we saw Kareem, and he's coaching over there at Centennial High School. He's in the military. He flies drones. Which is these days that's what the military is about. But just seeing him and him like, Coach, how you doing? This is what I'm doing. And let's not forget about the infamous Wyatt Alpert. Come on, man, right off the chip off the old block there. He's up in Northern California, first year teaching, running a program, and coming back to his stomping grounds and bringing his kids there. And he was up there this past week, right? Had his couple kids competing. That kid's passionate about wrestling. I don't know where he got that from, but in the end, right there, that's a success story too. Right there, and you look in the mirror.
Yeah, I am blessed that my son is giving back to wrestling now. And, he's not only coaching, but he's reffing freestyle and Greco. He doesn't enjoy reffing folk style so much, but he truly enjoys, the international part to it and seeing those great kids. And, I mean, think again, you look at Temecula, Nick Kindred, Brandon Dorn, these guys, they're right here. They're some of the best refs in the United States. And I think Temecula definitely has a special thing going on, and we give back in a big way. And there's a lot of people that do. And yeah, I don't think there's a better compliment that you can, say.
I think coaching is really hard to do, and I think it's cool that you guys have each other. How do you guys kind of manage disagreements? Because I mean, I love the guys that I coach with at Frontier, but dude, sometimes we just get on each other's nerves and we're friends, bottom line. So we always kind of think in the same light, like, yeah, this is about doing what's best with the program. And as long as we believe in that, we can kind of come to some agreement that's optimal. Is that kind of where your guys' frame of mind is sometimes, especially when you guys think about how long you guys have been together?
Let's be clear. I stopped being a head coach at Temecula in like 2022. Lyndon is the one doing all the work now. I come in on a basis once in a while. It's him and Marco.
Yeah, I'm saying in the past, just
But for many, many
overall.
years, it was me and
Yeah.
Lyndon. And I think one of the things we wrote practices together most of the time. We look at things, we talk about them. Look, we're sitting right next to each other. We're PE teachers and we're talking all day and our lives were invested in it. So we were passionate about what we were doing. And before we went in that room, that practice was pretty much written up and we knew what we were going to do. And when we did it, when we were done, though, let's say there was a disagreement, it didn't happen in the room. That was not the case. If we had a disagreement, we would get done with practice and go talk about it, and then deal with it. But in front of kids, 100%, we're on the same page because that's the way it's supposed to be. Regardless if I disagree with something, it had to be kind of minor because we agreed on 99% of the things. Maybe for that moment, he was doing something a little bit different, maybe than I would have done, but it's still Temecula Valley Wrestling, and it is not to be done in front of kids. So yeah, if we were going to talk, it was going to be outside the room.
Our friendship started, like I said, back in 1985 when I was a kid, in high school, before I
Yeah.
won my first state title. And Albert became my training partner at some point, and we became friends. And then after that, we just never left each other. And even when we were away from each other for a couple of years, we got back together. And that's what it is. I mean, sometimes how many people get to go to work with their best friend and, not only just coach with them, but to be, like you said, teaching PE and in the same office. I mean, pretty much our friendship's been like, over 40 years. So, but, like you said, minor disagreements like never happened in front. If there was, we'd talk about it. And you saw how we handled it at the Fullerton Wrestling Camp, rock, paper, scissors competition, right? That's how it got handled there. And that was in front of the kids, but that was for more display and more hoorah and, made it fun. It made it fun. But yeah, it's just being on the same page with working with somebody that knows your values and what you do and hard work and basically, yeah, we were on the same page, like you said, 99% of the time. So you
And
do
let's
have
be clear, I 100% respect Lyndon Campbell. There isn't a word. He's an awesome human being. He's great for wrestling. He's honest, hardworking. There's not enough I could say about him. So to work with him every day was an honor, to get in there and to be able to do those things and to be around him all the time. It was nothing but an honor. And it still is. Every day that I get to go in there, they invite me in the room still and they allow me to show technique. I feel honored and blessed to be able to do that. It is 100% an awesome thing that I still get to be a part of what him and Mario do because they do a great job.
and it's like yin and yang is what they say, that's you got to have opposites attract sometimes. And, but Alpert, like you said, the same goes for him. He's, if I had a first pick, I'd always pick Alpert because, I know what I'm going to get from him. I know he's a hard worker and I don't want to compete against him because I know you try to rip my head off. But in the end, I respect that. And he is, as much as he's rough and gruff at points, he loves every kid. He's your best advocate. I mean, I call him Dr. Albert at times. He's better than most doctors out there. Just beyond to be clear, his brain is always working to how he can make it better. And why wouldn't you want somebody on your team like that? Because to being a head wrestling coach or running the Fullerton Wrestling Camp, it takes a lot of work, especially as much as we did. We've created so much work for ourselves every year. When I go through it, I'm like, my God, what am I doing this? And it's like, that's what we created because that's what you're supposed to do. But it is a lot of work. And to have somebody like him to go along for the ride and take that off your plate, or I take it off his plate, because I might be good at something or he might be good at something. And, working together is what it's about because that's why we've always been co-head coaches. And I still see him as the OG of the program, and being there. And as long as I had been there for 30 years, but he got there before I was. So, but being together all this time, it just makes it easier. So, yeah, nothing but mad respect. And like I said, if I had a first pick on anything that I did, I would take Coach Alpert every single time.
Heck yeah. When you guys think about maybe when you first started like coaching at Temecula together, what were those early days kind of like? Like I'm sure they were tough, like putting in long hours and time. But when you think back on it, like what are maybe some moments that kind of come to your brains a little bit?
Well, according to our kids, we were obviously a lot meaner and tougher back in the day, and a lot harder on those guys. As I hear Mario talking and the older guys coming back in, but I don't think that's true. I think we just became smarter as we got older. But yeah, back in the day, we were young. We were. When I came to Temecula, I wasn't quite married yet. I wasn't married yet, so I was married to wrestling, and we were tough, and we were worked out with our kids, and we just went full out. But we loved wrestling. So I mean, it's like young coaches now. You see, there's coaches out there, but you can tell the ones that really do love it and really have the passion for it. And but yeah, me and Alpert working together, wrestling together in the wrestling room, growing up, getting beat up by Alpert and Carl Glover and people like that back in the day when I was young. That's what it takes, and we just transferred that into coaching. Because once you get done competing, what are you going to do? If you're not going to go to the MMA, if you're not going to fight in the UFC, if you're not going to go compete in something else, coaching is the next best thing to fulfill that gap. And yeah, the kids just got to do it for you. So coaching them and getting them to do it at the highest level is what it's about.
I remember one time it was Jeff Bristol, and he had to be one of my favorite all-time wrestlers. Just a tough hombre. And he was a freshman, and we were up at Centennial High School, and we were warming up, and somehow we started headbutting each other. And the next thing I know, we're both like bloody messes. But like nobody was going to back down. I mean, I'm not going to let some freshman kid punk me, and he ain't letting no coach punk him. So we were just beating the living snot out of each other. And I think that's one of my memories I just loved. It was just like, yeah, that's awesome. I can remember a Christmas. Okay, we would practice on Christmas Day. Okay, and I remember I gave a concussion to Sarek, to Steven Sarek on Christmas Day, right? I mean, little things like that, back, working out with the kids, but I think above and beyond, it's like Christmas Day, you guys are working. Yeah, yeah, we are. We're working out. It's happening, you know, and that was just the norm. We were going to work out no matter what, and we were going to be tough, and we were going to go forward, and we were going to slap a front headlock on you, we were going to choke you, we were going to put the legs in on you and bend you, and we were going to beat you up if we could, and that was just awesome. Just so much fun to be a part of and to teach kids to and on the back of the shirt, I am a champion, right? Well, that saying, if you're a Temecula Valley wrestler, you know that saying because at the end of every practice, you have to do it, right? You're going to do 10 silent jumping jacks. Doesn't matter what practice it is, doesn't matter where it is, you're going to do that. And if you get it wrong, you're going to do 4 push-ups, right? 10 push-ups.
10 push-ups.
Yeah. And then if you get it right, you're going to do 4 push-ups. And those push-ups are going to be I am a champion, right? I mean, you are brainwashed from the day you walk in that room that you are something special, right? That you are not just ordinary, that you are a champion, that you are going to succeed at the highest levels. And that's the expectation, right? That's the thought process. But it's not just about wrestling, it's about your life. You're going to walk away the rest of your life thinking, I'm a champion, man. I'm a champion. And I think for a lot of kids, it's hard to say those words until you walk in that room and we make you say them, right? And then all of a sudden they're like proud to say it. Like when you hear kids say that in our room, they're not saying it, they're yelling it. And that's an awesome experience. What do you think, Brian? How did you like saying, I am a champion?
Well, as a high school senior, having 4 different high school wrestling coaches and you coming in my senior year, you laid the groundwork, and our boys, whether it was, Perriman or Mike Chandro or Nathan Poole, if we messed up, we absolutely had hell to pay, and you held us accountable. The story I remember is Campbell got there in '97, and it was shortly after, and it was the '98 season, and we were good. going out to the Beast of the East and wrestling like Northampton. But I remember coming back in the room after the season and getting ready. And next thing you know, I thought I was a big guy. And I was like, all right, I'm going to wrestle Coach Alpert. So we're in a round robin and we've got kids in there. And next thing you know, and I get double underhooks on my coach and I lock him up and I got his feet off the ground and I was going to send him for a ride. And unfortunately, it didn't happen because he double overhooked me. And you were talking about the Bristol moment. And that's what happened in my head. Next thing you know, he's like, he takes his head, he headbutts me. He's like, you know, you know. So I'm kind of dazed, and I said, "Screw it, I'm throwing coach." And I went to step back, and I threw it. And next thing you know, I threw out my shoulder, and my shoulder's dislocated. And he's staring over me, and he's like, "You didn't get me." And so I get up, and my shoulder's just completely dislocated. And we walk out of the room, and I'm sitting there, and sure enough, I call. I'm making arrangements to I got to go see the doc, but practice was over. And immediately he walks out and he's like, "You good?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, get your butt back in here because we got push-ups." So I had a dislocated shoulder and sitting there and being as a coach on that aspect, sitting there yelling my push-ups, doing my one-handed jumping jacks because the other arm's out of socket, and then finish it off with "I am a champion." It molds young men, and hopefully all those guys that have come back, whether it's the Carr brothers or the Bristols, and they're doing so well in San Diego, or Justin Flores, or you look at it, a three-time NCAA qualifier and MJ Gaitan now for Iowa State. They all know to say "I'm a champion," and you believe it. You believe it in your heart.
Hey, and look at MJ in Iowa State. What's their hair like?
Yeah, what? So I wanted to ask about because I talked to Brian. We gotta get MJ on at some point, but why are all the Iowa State guys all of a sudden doing the hair thing? Because I don't think they were doing that before, and
Of
it had me
course
second guessing.
not.
I'm like, are they doing it because of Perriman and MJ or what's going on?
Of course. It's the Cali thing. Come on, man. And let's be clear, it's not the Cali thing. It's the look at Lyndon's got it right there in his.
Hey, is it the Temecula thing or is it the Clovis thing?
Oh, come on. Let's be clear.
It
Clovis can
started in
do.
'97, and technically the end of the '96 season when we all bleached it, and then '97 season to honor Adam. And well, I mean, it was a little bit before that, but just it took off like wildfire.
We did it way before anybody else. Let's be clear. And Clovis can do it. That's awesome. But they are complimenting us at the highest level. Let's be clear about that because we did it first. Okay. That's a fact.
Right.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's like I said. Yeah, we did it first, and Clovis does it at the end of the year. We do it at the beginning of the year. It's great when you're at a tournament and you're looking for your kids. The parents love it because then they spot them real quick. The teachers love it on campus because now they know who the wrestlers are, and if they have a problem with them, then they just talk to us because they know we're going to deal with our kids. So it has a lot of good qualities in it. I've been trying to stop it the last few years, but we're still going here 30 years later. But when I was in high school, I actually had bleach blonde hair. So I did back in the 80s. I had the old rat tail in the back that was bleach blonde, and I had a little patch up here in my head because I grew up in my parents were both hairdressers. They owned their own salon and everything. So I had the means to do what I needed. But when I had my bleach blonde tail, I did it. I rocked it until I lost 1 year at Five Counties. I think it was my senior year. Yeah, I lost there, and then I cut it off the next day because I was like, if you can't rock it, then you don't deserve it. So that's always been my mentality, my superstition, and it's like tucking my sweats into my pants. I'm still like I'm cutting weight even as a coach.
Did Temecula start that too? Tucking the sweatpants in the socks?
Campbell,
Well,
Campbell for sure,
yeah.
100%.
Campbell started it, huh?
Well, I don't know
It was
about the
in
socks thing. Not maybe not the socks thing, but tucking my sweatpants in my shirt, my sweatshirt in my sweatpants because as you cut weight back in the day, you would have to do that to keep the heat in, right? So I just do it. I've been at staff meetings, I've been at district meetings with my sweats tucked into my pants. People are looking at me crazy, It's like, hey, well, if you don't have it, you can rock it, then rock it, doing a good thing. So what does it matter anyhow? I was warned.
Well, it was like the year in '98 when Albert when you guys called to go out to the Beast of the East and they said on one caveat: you got to come with your bleached hair. You got the Cali kids got to come out to Delaware to wrestle with the bleached hair, and there you go. California went out to the beast of the
Yeah.
east and
They're all looking
rocked
at
the
us like
bleached
we were
hair.
crazy at first, and then until they saw us wrestle, and then after the tournament, they were like, "Man, you guys are pretty tough."
Yeah,
So
we gained a lot of fans back there. It was a lot of fun, and definitely the bleached hair. That was like, well, if you're coming out, well, I want hotel rooms, and they're like, well, then you got to bleach your hair. I said, okay, yeah, no problem, whatever, man. And as long as we get our hotel rooms paid for, we'll have the hair. And then the fans, when we got there, like you said, they were kind of like, what's up with you Cali boys? And then by the end, they're like, oh, okay, we got you. You guys can wrestle. You're into it. Yeah, we are. And we had a great time out there. It was a lot of fun. East of the East is a really good tournament.
So we're
Yeah,
nationally known. We're nationally known for our bleached hair. Obviously, people were like, a couple times one year we didn't do it on the time we were supposed to. And why didn't you guys bleach your hair? Why is your hair bleached? But people will know when you say Temecula Valley, they know there's some hair bleaching going on.
I'd say this too. One of the I think the first times I really saw you guys was during COVID. We kind of just I was coaching at a different high school at the time, but we just kind of packed a bunch of kids in a van. We would just take them to different tournaments, across the country, and it seems like wherever we would go, we'd have like a handful of kids, and you guys would have like a full squad. You'd have like 20 plus kids at some of these events, and that's kind of where I think MJ, Gaitan, and Ethan Perriman, guys like that, like just really flourished. And you saw them come back that next year and they crushed it. What kind of went into that process? Were you guys during COVID just taking these guys traveling? And what are maybe some memories that you guys think about when you guys were doing that stuff?
Yeah, COVID kind of shut everything down. Doesn't mean you stop doing everything. Obviously it was done for a reason, but it's like anything. If you're a junkie at doing something, then you're going to find the places that have it, whether it's underground wrestling or the garage, the garages practices, and all those kids were that we had during that time were all into wrestling. Their dads were into wrestling, the Perrymans, the Gaitans, the Avedisians, the Baldonados. They had their kids, and so they trained on their own because that's what you could do. We couldn't really train on campus. I remember going on campus. You could come on campus, but you had to take, your temperature when you got there. I mean, we had to take a test once a week, which I think was a scam. And the insurance is made out on. Charging you $300 to stick a swab up your nose and test it for 1 week. And how many weeks do we have to do that consecutively? So, but those kids went in, and then there was people out there, other wrestling junkies that hosted the events, right? They had the events at places that they could do it at. So, wrestling junkies find a way to go out there and find the connection. Like you must be a wrestling junkie because you were there, so with some kids. So in the end, that's what it's about. But I remember being outside training, we had to be in pods. You had to be in certain pods, 10 kids in a pod. If one kid got sick, that pod was out. But everything was outdoor training. So we would just go outdoors and we'd do training, running, lifting, stance motion outside. No real contact. Once we could start doing contact with one person, it was a limited amount of kids in the room that you could do it. It was like pods and stuff like that. But yeah,
There
you
was a
just,
lot of garage wrestling going on at that time.
yeah.
That's just what it came down to. You had to find a place to work out, and we did. And then you had to find places to travel, and sometimes you were going to Arizona and stuff because they'd have tournaments and over here, or there'd be just like you said, there's the underground. There was this underground dual meets going on at times, and we were just in the know, so we were able to get our kids to a lot of different places and keep them at a high level. And they were, like I said, those parents were into it, those kids were into it. So they were willing to travel and do anything that they could to do it. No doubt about it. That was a good group of kids. They were very dedicated and nothing was going to stop them. So,
And you guys crushed it that next year. Like that was like a really impressive group of guys, and it was a pretty like across your entire lineup was very very competitive.
oh yeah, you go up and down from the Baldonados at the lightweights all the way up to, the Gatan, Gatan up there at his 65s. In between 165 and 106, we were pretty tough. No doubt about it. There was somebody pretty much at every weight that was pretty much a straight state level, either place winner or qualifier at least. So yeah, that was a good group right there.
Yeah. And their parents put in a lot of time too, right? Getting them there, getting them to the tournaments at the gym, what coach couldn't be there. Because at the time, there were some restrictions on coaches, what you could and could not do with your athletes, being in a practice or certain things. But, so those dads put in a lot of time. They were wrestling dads. They wrestled, too. So they kind of knew what was up. But yeah, it's still traveling, still going to great tournaments, trying to do what they could best for their kid, like any parent would want, right, to get them to the next level. And that was a good, solid team of kids that really, performed.
Yeah, Mark Perryman and Mr. Gatan both put in a ton of time, as well as all the other parents. They were pretty much out in front of the whole thing. They were definitely leading the charge. They did a great job.
And
And,
that
go ahead.
crew's all over the place, whether it's Perriman and Gaitan at Iowa State, whether it's Mark, up in Utah, whether it was,
Peralta.
Peralta still out there, whether it was going
Illinois.
out to Doane College for Devin. All those guys are still wrestling
Baldy's,
at the next
the
level.
Baldy's helping K&D.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Well, and one of them refs, right? One of them does solid refing for the San Diego section. Both of them help run wrestling tournaments. Then you got, like you said, Alec Peralta still wrestling. Bill Takara still wrestling. Ethan Perryman still wrestling. MJ Gatan just took third in the Big West. Or no,
Big 12.
Big
Big
12.
12.
Just took third in the Big 12. Well, last year he was fourth. This year he's third. Hopefully, and he just, the guy was ranked eighth in the country. He knocked off. So hopefully he's got a chance of being on the podium this year. That would be really nice to see.
Well, we're getting close to an hour, and it just seems like it could kind of just flew by. That's kind of just what happens sometimes. But I do have one more question, camp related, and then we can kind of take it wherever you guys want. But favorite camp clinician that you guys have had since the beginning? You guys have probably answered this question probably numerous times, and it can be maybe somebody that we talked about before or somebody different. But it could be either something that they've shown that you really liked, or their personality, or maybe just the overall experience of them. Brian, do you want to start?
Um,
Ellen
yeah, I
Russell.
mean, I've been involved with the camp since like 96. Had only been working it for, the last 15, 17 years, somewhere in there. But I think two that stand out, pure technique. Jason Xerxes was so impressive on top, to see that and to see his technique. I thought that was an amazing year. But I don't know. My guy is hopefully he'll come back. But as a Michigan fan, it kind of tugs at the heartstrings. But Jesse Mendez 2 years ago was so personable. He was great with the kids. His technique was off the chart, and he was just the most humble human being ever. He walked into the camp store, and I had my Michigan towel out there, and I gave him his gear, and just such a humble human being and an amazing guy. Those are the two guys that stand out for me over the last probably 17 years. Jason Xerxes and absolutely Jesse Mendez.
Go ahead,
What about
Alfred.
you, Coach Campbell?
Well, me, I don't know, little known fact, I grew up in the Fullerton Wrestling Camp. When Dan Lewis first started it at Fountain Valley High School, I was a camper. So, going to his as a commuter camp. And then when it was at Hope International now, which used to be Pacific Christian College, I was at camp as a sophomore there at camp. And then I started working camp my junior, senior year and on through to college. And then eventually me and Alpert bought it from Coach Lewis. So it's kind of growing up in the camp, been around it since it started. But I love technique, and I hate it when the clinicians are out there showing my technique all the time. I was like, that's my move. I do those moves. That's how I do it. I could have done it cheaper, but in the end, I look for personality. I look for people, like he said, like Mendez that's one of that year. Who's my favorite every year? It doesn't have to be, you got to be the best wrestler. It's who's personable with the kids. And Cody Brewer was a funny guy out of Oklahoma. That guy was so funny. Him talking about how he had to go to the bathroom at the NCAA's right before the finals, and Iowa was sitting in front. And I'm an Iowa fan, right? Because I wrestled Tom Brands back in the day. I have nothing but mad respect for him. And but Cody Brewer talking about that, just his personality, sitting at the lunch table, telling, having these conversations, and then going out and wrestling with the kids. something like that, wrestling with the kids and just talking to them and being personal, not just coming in, collecting their paycheck, showing the technique. When do I got to be back? They're involved in the camp. You know, it's like Dake's first year, but Cody Brewer, the Mendez kid from Ohio State, and then last year, you know, we had amazing clinicians. I mean, if you look at the board in the background over there, Alpert, we had amazing people over there. But you know, one of my favorites was last year was Lucas Bird. He fit that description. He was like a personable young man. He talked to everybody. He had a great personality. He hung out with the kids. He wrestled with the kids, and that's what I look for. And there's plenty of those guys that come through, but I guess there's plenty of clinicians that come through, but there's the rare ones that you really fall in love with. And every year I get to vote. But on top of all those guys, then you got Anthony Robles. Come on. Anthony.
Stealing my guy. You're stealing my guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, he's everybody's guy. That guy is so humble and so personable. And his line's always the longest when it comes to autographs. And he has such a great story. But every kid that comes up there, he talks. He takes time to just personally talk to him one on one. And just if it took 5 minutes, 10 minutes, he'd still be there talking to him with 100 kids in line, but signing their shirts. And that dude is one amazing young man. And he's been working our camp since he was an NCAA champ. He comes back every year and opens up our camp. So Anthony Robles is amazing.
Yeah, Anthony Robles definitely has to be my number one. He started at our camp when he was third, and then he became the NCAA champ the next year. Amazing guy. You know, I just can't say enough good things about him. He comes to that camp, he motivates kids. He is humble, he is hardworking, he is everything you'd want in a human being. That guy is incredible, man. Now, the funny thing is, they mentioned people that I would. Cody Brewer, he was awesome. Jesse Mendez, he was awesome. Kyle Dake, way back in the day, he was awesome. But I'll tell you another guy who used to work our camp quite a bit, who's a California boy, who he doesn't want to admit he's a California boy because he's from Pennsylvania. Paul Keesaw is just an awesome human being and a great technician. Funny, funny, funny. He would be our closer. So when the kids are tired and they're ready to go home, Paul Keesaw would roll in and he'd be bald and a little belly on him. And he would just show the best technique and have the best stories and is just a wonderful human being. And he's a monster wrestler. NCAA champ for Cal State Bakersfield. Okay, of course, he wants to tell you he's from Pennsylvania, but he's really not. He's from California now. But Paul Keesaw, I love him. Just a great human being. And you go down the list, man. Alex Dyringer. Oh my God, he was awesome.
Nice.
God, he was great. Bubba Jenkins, you want to talk about funny? Third person. Oh my God, that guy was hilarious.
Third person
Senzo
for
Joseph.
sure. Yeah.
Senzo
Third person.
Joseph. Darian Cruz. David Carr. Oh my God, David Carr was awesome. Tito Ortiz came to our camp. He would work our camp. Oh my God, you want to talk about
That was a funny couple years.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Mark Munoz did our wrestling camp. Nick Suriano, Nico Megaludis, Nino Bonacorsi, Reese Humphrey, Patrick Glory, got Royce Alger in the day. Izzy Boyanikov, if you know who Izzy is, he works the women's training center. Mark Schultz, did our wrestling camp. Marty Kistler. God, so many amazing people. And Zahid Valencia, Lucas Burge, Carl Winchester, Jason Nolf, Vito Aruja. Talk about somebody who is amazing and working out with the kids. Yeah, just wrestlers are great people. Wrestlers are great people. And we've had a lot of great people at our camp. And I guarantee you one thing, we're going to have a great group of people this year. It's going to be amazing.
Are you allowed to tell us? Like, are there people?
Tell you
Are
who
there
I'm
people?
thinking?
Let me ask you
You
this.
want to hear who
Okay.
I'm thinking?
Let me. Yeah. Who are you like? Who are you thinking, or who are you looking at? Maybe
Okay,
like
come
this
on.
year in the NCAA lineup. Like,
We all
okay,
want
like
we all want Jack Forrest, right? We all want Jack Forrest right now. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I mean, I was gonna ask that, but I was like, I don't want. You said that I didn't because I do like Lucas Bird.
Oh, of course we love
So, I
Lucas
mean, I have to
Bird.
be loyal to him, but
Oh
I would love Lucas Bird.
whoever, how about this? Whoever wins 133s, you got to send him an offer.
Oh, of course. Is it going to be Ben DeVino? Is it going to be Marcus Blaze? Is it going to be Lucas Bird? Is it going to be Jack Forrest? Oh my God, what class. Oh, but when Suriano did our camp, that weight class was sick that year too. Oh my God, it was crazy. Okay, who else? Um, Luke Lillendahl, would be nice. Jesse Mendez has to be at top of the list. Has to be at
yeah,
top of the list.
because we know what we're getting with him. We know what we're getting. We know his personality, and
Yeah.
he didn't get back to us last year. So Jesse, if you're listening to this, good Lord, get back to me.
What about Messenbrink?
Yeah, that was my next one, Messenbrink. Yeah,
That
I
he,
knew
I mean,
Russ was came ahead.
I love all the names you just said, but Messenbrink, you get
Yeah,
him do a little karaoke, set up a
yeah.
karaoke machine out there. You
Yeah.
seen his TikToks?
No, have not.
He's been singing on like TikTok, like doing like he's been singing, like actually singing, like trying singing.
He would
Oh,
definitely be somebody. I mean, come on. He is amazing on the wrestling mat. He never stops. He just goes forward. He is amazing. The
yeah.
Big Tens were just awesome. What about, I mean, of course, I want Jesse Mendez, but you can't say Sergio Vega isn't in the mix somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, and a young kid and this crazy stuff he's pulling out of his hat right now, that would be kind of sick to see, you
And
know?
his personality is great. Being able to broadcast and be on the call when he came out to Doc B afterwards. I was chatting him. Sunnyside, man, they wear their tights, and I just flat out asked him. I was like, "Hey, so are you going to start a new trend?" He goes, "Nope." He goes, "Sunnyside, we wear our tights, and we're proud of it." And he's got a great personality, so Vega would be really cool.
I met last year, me and my wife were out at the NCAAs and we're going out to dinner. And so we go into this small restaurant and the guy's sitting right across and by himself. And I'm like, is that Rocky Elam? And Sarah's kind of like, I'm not sure. And I go, hey, are you Rocky Elam? He's, yeah, I'm Rocky Elam. I'm like, hey, Rock, what's up, man? How we doing? Hey, I'd like to get Keegan O'Toole to work my wrestling camp, man. Can you hook me up with him? He's, oh, yeah, 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 no problem. If he wins it, then I'll but give me your number. So I get Rocky Elam's number. How about Rocky Elam?
He
He
takes
can,
out Josh
right?
Barr or whoever in the
Right?
finals. I mean, that'd be awesome.
That would be nice, right?
You already
Uh,
have a connection right there. I mean, you got the
right there.
connection. You
Yeah,
got
he's
the
probably like, "What about me?" You say
yeah.
like, "If I win a national title, you get me out."
Yeah, that was
There you
kind of the
go.
conversation. So, and he's right there to win it. And then at 84s, man, God, you got some studs at 84s, man. Rocco Welch, who did he beat yesterday in the Big Tens? That was,
McEllie.
McAnally.
and I'm going to say on
It was a
record,
takedown.
I
It
thought
was a
McInerney won,
takedown. It was a
right?
I'm not
takedown. It
all
was a
caught up on
takedown.
my wrestling yet, so like, I mean, I kind of
Oh,
knew. I'm pretty sure I saw the graphic already where Rocco Welsh won, but I was pretty busy this weekend. I didn't get a chance to watch everything that I wanted to watch, but
well,
that's fine. It's
I
not a big
watched the
deal.
Angel Ferraro match with Rocco Welch too. That was a great one.
I mean,
So,
yeah, I just I don't know. I like when people are like actively trying to score and not just wrestling on a knee, but
yeah.
I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
And then I would say, what about a Kyle Snyder? What about a Spencer Lee? What about a Lore? What about Kennedy Blades? Uh, you
Wait,
know,
so are you like being are those the people that are coming out?
no, no, no. I'm just saying these are people that we're looking at. These are people that their names are in the mix, right?
Have
That,
you asked any of these people? Like
uh,
sent like a DM? Like let me ask you this. Have DMs or text messages or emails or phone calls been made out in terms of who's going to be coming out this summer? You don't say who.
no, we will not really get crazy until the NCAAs. We just won't do it.
Okay.
It is not because number one, they either got to be a world place winner or they got to be an NCAA champ, right? So we kind of wait for March. And the nice thing is, our wrestling camp opened, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, and we're already at like 75 kids, and nobody knows who's even coming, right? People just know it's going to be a great lineup and it's going to be a great camp. So we will probably be at 125 to 150 when the NCAAs hit. And then 2 or 3 weeks, a month later, we're going to be sold out as soon as we announce our lineup. So, we're kind of waiting a little bit, but we will not. I can't make Jesse Mendez an offer yet, even though you almost know he's going to win it till he wins it. So we're kind of got to wait a little bit here.
Yeah, we don't want to
Well,
jinx them.
no, don't jinx. I mean, I don't think we're jinxing. I mean, honestly, if his wrestling performance is influenced by like a California wrestling podcast, then
Right.
maybe he shouldn't be winning a national title. Like I think he'd just be locked in, man. He's been doing this his whole life, and I'm excited. It's gonna be really fun. This is like one of my favorite tournaments to watch ever. So, um, so
NCAA's
before
are amazing.
you what?
The NCAA's are amazing. I
Yeah.
go every year pretty much. It is the holy grail of sporting events. And I have been to a lot of great sporting events. I've been to the World Championships for wrestling. I have been to the Olympics for wrestling. I have been to, the World Series for baseball. I've never been to the Super Bowl. Lyndon has, but I will say that the NCAA wrestling tournament is by far, bar none, the best sporting event in the world.
True that. True that.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. If you are interested, if you're watching this and you're interested in sign up for the wrestling camps, you can sign up at fullertonwrestlingcamp.com. Any final thoughts that you guys have before we cut it?
Well, we appreciate you and what you're doing. And, it's a simple man's podcast, But I'll tell you who will be at Fullerton Wrestling Camp this year: Coach Alpert, Coach Campbell, Coach Navarro. We'll be there giving our best, do what we can to make their kids' experience to be amazing when it comes to wrestling.
What about you, Brian? Are you going to work again?
Yeah, Coach Campbell already asked me, and I was like, yeah, I guess I have to now. I have to come. I'm excited. I did say one thing though. It gets to be a little bit close, like right before school starts up again. So I was like, man, I got to go deal with a bunch of kids now. But I will say this. This was probably one of the best experiences that I've had with wrestling. I think I was kind of in like, not a rut, but just like it was nice to be in a completely different environment with kids that like I don't normally coach. And I think it was really good for me mentally coaching and like being in the wrestling mindset where it's just like, hey, I just get to just help teach technique with a small, kind of just my mat. But it was really good for me, I think, and it helped me out a lot. I think coming into the next year just with like a little bit of a refresh. So I really appreciate you guys having me out for the camp, and I'm excited to come back this summer. I'm very
Oh, we're
excited.
excited to have you.
Also, it's also to hear kids like, you make friends. Like that's how I see wrestling. You make new friends every year. If you do a national camp, if you do Fullerton Wrestling Camp,
Yeah.
if you're going to Reno Tournament Champions, running that second day of practice, you make so many friends. And to hear those kids come up to you a year later or the next year and say, "Hey, coach, remember me? I was at Fullerton. I qualified for state." Or, I'm back in the second day of Reno. I don't have to listen to you, give us the business on the first day. I made it to the second day of the tournament. So that's what wrestling's about. And if you're building wrestling and have the best interest for kids, that's a payment in itself. We don't make much money, but friendships and kids like that coming back to thank you for what you've done or for them to help create an awesome experience is amazing.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having us on your podcast. What you do for wrestling, giving back. That's what it's all about. Exposing, because in this world right now, this is what's needed. Wrestling, that mentality, that hard work, that dedication, that loyalty, that commitment, that staggering through life, doing for others. That's what is needed in this world. And wrestling is all about that. So thank you for promoting it.
I'm just trying to get Navarro to maybe get me on one of those calls. I've been begging him for a while to, to be announcing maybe at the battle for the belt. Maybe I have a little pool there at that tournament. Maybe I can get on the call.
What do you
Done
think, Brian? Is
deal.
that possible?
I mean, before we sign off, it really started that way. It started with Kim Kindred and Lyndon and Arnold and Nick. It was the battle, and they had the conversations with Tierpelli and was like, "Hey, who's the first person going to put this out?" And then here comes the duel against Calvary Chapel, and we put it on UStream. And the next thing you know, we got 3 cameras running, and then you got parents on the broadcast, and then I don't know, man. I look back to a time when Campbell and we were in Des Moines and we're sitting up at the stands and wrestling's going on and we're broadcasting over the air, just to the people around us, just goofing off. And next thing you know, it leads into, working for a company with Candy and being able to announce Big 12 wrestling matches and the state championships. 100%. Like, battle for the belt. Let's throw it on, start it back where it all started from, and we have a good time.
So that's a commitment then. That means Coach Campbell is going to be on the broadcast next year. You're going
Well,
to let him on.
I think he's got to kick you off the seat because the
That's
last couple
fine.
of years you've been able to be on that for a little bit, and then this year when you stepped away, Teddy Bristol came in. But yeah, it's their tournament. Um, I
I'd
think
rather be
Campbell's got the
coaching.
face of
I'd rather be coaching in the finals than you talking about me. But
Yeah, same.
in
Same.
the, in the end, I don't need to be on there full time. Maybe one guest appearance. It'd just be funny and fun because then we can really goof on the refs and everything else out there.
it. Done deal for sure.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate again all you guys being on the show. And Brian, I know it's late over there, so I hope you have a good night, man. And thanks, guys. It's been really fun.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much, man. Yeah.